Good morning, everyone. I want to say thank you for joining us here today. What a beautiful day in Seattle, and what a great day this is for the city of Seattle. We know that we have to continue to act with urgency to address our housing and affordability crisis. We have to use every tool we have, and we have to look for more tools. And I'm really excited to be here today. I'm going to be introducing some of the people who are here. You're going to be hearing from them and from Speaker Chop. I want to call out two people, one who couldn't be here, and that's Councilmember Teresa Mosqueda, and the other is Frank Chop, who you'll be hearing from. Teresa Mosqueda and I were on the campaign trail at the same time, and we heard each other say how many times it was that how important we had to work against this crisis of housing affordability. And one of the things we have to do is to put our public lands to work for the public. We have to use all the tools we have, but to make sure that when we have lands that are available and suitable for housing, we find a way to use them for that. And I have to thank Speaker Chop, who you're going to hear from, and I'm going to thank him some more in these remarks I'm going to deliver. But his leadership on this issue, I talked to him before I was elected and immediately after I was elected about what are the range of things that Seattle can do to really get ahead to attack this housing affordability crisis. And he had a range of them, and one of them was, how do we make sure that city-like properties owned by the people can be used for the people? And there was red tape and technicalities that got in the way of that. Well, he was able to introduce a law to get that changed so that we could use land like this for affordable housing. So I want to say that as part of my Housing Now plan, we will be transmitting legislation for the disposition of 2 surplus city-like properties to create 27 permanently affordable ownership opportunities for low and moderate income buyers. One of the sites is located where we're standing here today on Phinney Ridge. It's a great neighborhood, a high opportunity neighborhood, and we're going to make sure that more people can have access to this. The other is going to be in Loyal Heights, and we will provide an exciting opportunity for affordable home ownership right here in North Seattle. We also know that we can't do this work alone. It's thanks to our partners who have the experience that we're able to announce incredible opportunities like this one. I'm really pleased to be here today with Habitat for Humanity, who stood with me in other places at Fort Lawton and other places in the city where they're creating that ability to have home ownership. They will receive $720,000 to create 8 family-sized townhomes on the Loyal Heights site. And Homestead Community Land Trust will receive $1.5 million on the site we're on here today to develop condominiums. Those condominiums are possible not just because of the law passed for city-like properties, but also because we're able, through the leadership of the legislature, to make sure we change the condominium laws to make it more attractive to build. We know that there's too few home ownership opportunities for low-income families and moderate-income families. And home ownership, we know from the data is clear, is one of the ways that people can build wealth to lift up their families and the next generations. We know it's one of the ways that people can live in communities with high opportunity and build for themselves and their families that American dream that everyone deserves. And this site and the other sites will give more people that opportunity. City Light will transfer these properties to the nonprofit developers at no cost, so that we can afford to build this housing at a price that it can actually be affordable long-term for families of lower means. Again, I really want to thank Teresa Mosqueda for her leadership on this. Not only did she talk about it on the campaign trail, but she worked in Olympia alongside our lobbying team, who are here today too, and I want to give a special thanks to Lily, who led that effort, and to everyone else, to work with Speaker Chop and to work with our state Senate delegation and others to make sure we got this law passed. And Teresa Mosqueda was there on the front lines, and then she introduced the legislation to make sure the city of Seattle could be the first in the state to take advantage of that law. And that kind of transfer that we're doing today would not have been possible without those efforts. I also, again, just really want to thank Speaker Chop. You know, he dedicated many, many years to seeing that we had housing for people before he got to the legislature. He really was a visionary who knew how important housing was to human integrity and dignity and to making sure that everyone had a place. I was able to be at the groundbreaking for Mercy Housing. He was key to that. At a project we have at DSC, he was key to that. He's a person who has been committed throughout his career to making opportunity for housing available for everyone. And for that, I want to give you now Frank Chop, the former Speaker of the House, the permanent jewel here in Seattle.
Did you say permanent jewel?
Permanent jewel!
Does it come with a name tag? I don't know. Jeez. Well, thanks very much. Thanks, Mayor. This is great. I really appreciate people showing up today because this may be a small site, but it's a big idea. And so we are replicating this on many, many other sites. But I want to say that this is particularly a perfect example of creating homes for people if we work together and get creative. We're very proud of passing House Bill 2382. That was back in 2018, which basically enables this transfer to happen at no cost so the housing can be affordable. And for the 27 families that are going to be directly impacted, it'll mean the world to them. Because we have a lot of jobs, last time I checked, in Seattle, but there's few places where people who work here can actually afford to live here. This will help in that regard. I want to thank State Representative Cindy Ryu from Shoreline. She was the prime sponsor of the bill. I want to thank the mayor for granting the funds to these two fine organizations. I also want to echo what she said about Teresa Mosqueda. We work very closely with her to get the effort through the city council with the proper wording and that kind of thing. And the other thing I wanted to let you know is that we've got a lot of other sites that we're doing this with. King County's making land available for free for affordable housing out at Northgate for hundreds of units of housing. Sound Transit has made available 3 sites in many cases at zero cost or low cost. And it's just one of the many ideas that we have coming out of our Home and Hope project. I'd like to recognize M.A. Leonard and James Madden, who are here today from Enterprise Community Partners. We partnered with them for our Home and Hope project, where we're identifying major pieces of property throughout the region for affordable housing. That's the housing for the home part of it. And for Hope, we're also placing early learning centers and community health clinics there together. So you'll see more of these things, but it's just one of many ideas we're partnering with the mayor. We really appreciate all of her great work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And of course, really, this is all about the people who are going to live here and the people doing these projects. I'm now going to hear from Brett and D'Antonio.
Thank you so much to Mayor Durkan and Speaker Chop for supporting Habitat's proposal for our Loyal Heights project. As the mayor alluded to earlier, homeownership is more than just stable shelter. And as you'll see on the shirts of some of our Habitat volunteers behind me, we believe that through shelter we empower, meaning that owning a home is the primary catalyst for economic mobility and advancement, particularly for underserved populations. Historically, across our country, owning a home has been the single largest influence on the accumulation of wealth within a family. Today, unfortunately, homeownership is out of reach for generations of Seattle families. With the actions taken by the city today, we are continuing to change that. Our 3-bedroom townhomes that will be built in Loyal Heights are the starter homes that this market can no longer afford to produce. Modest income families that currently rent will be able to buy their first home, put roots in their new community, engage civically, and most importantly, build equity to invest in the future of their family. When a family sells their home, if and when, it will be sold to another income qualified buyer, making these houses available to not just one family, but generations to receive those economic benefits. So on behalf of Habitat Seattle King County, our board, and most importantly, our volunteers, I want to convey my sincere thanks to the city for their investment in our project. Thank you very much.
And now you get to hear from a very special speaker, Kathleen Haasvelt.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Haasvelt. I'm the Executive Director for Homestead Community Land Trust. Thank you, Mayor Durkan. Thank you, former Speaker Chop, M.A. Leonard and her team, and Councilmember Mosqueda the rest of the Seattle City Council, and members of the Washington State Legislature. Your work has cleared the trail so that organizations like Homestead can respond quickly to the urgent need for more affordable homes in our city, giving us more options and means to build affordable homes cost effectively. We propose to build 19 1, 2, and 3-bedroom condominium homes on this site. Condominiums have traditionally been more affordable homeownership opportunities for first-time buyers, so we are grateful for the new opportunities you've created to build more of them. The transfer of this surplus property at no cost to community ownership will help Homestead and our partners, Edge Developers, to build homes at reduced prices that are affordable to the everyday heroes of Seattle whose incomes prevent them from buying market rate homes. We believe that the people who make our city great deserve to live here too. Many people are surprised to hear that our teachers and healthcare workers, transit drivers, nurses, people who work full-time in good jobs are shut out of buying a home in our high-cost market. Through our Community Land Trust model, we will make homes affordable and keep those homes affordable to all subsequent buyers permanently. These homes, located in a highly walkable neighborhood close to transit, will give our buyers an affordable housing payment that builds wealth along with lower transportation expenses. So we're grateful to have this opportunity to create high quality homes in a high opportunity area and to give affordable homeownership a permanent address in Phinney Ridge. We applaud the generosity of Seattle for supporting this development and for supporting Homestead, your local community land trust. And to tell you a little bit more about what homeownership opportunities like this mean to those everyday heroes of Seattle, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Susan Zeeman, who is one of our homeowners. She also serves on our board. Susan?
Hi. I became a Homestead homeowner in 2017 after my family was forced out of our rental house that had become unsafe and uninhabitable. We were able to buy the last available home in one of Homestead's multifamily developments, and I wake up every single day thrilled to be secure in my own home. I'm thrilled to know that my landlord will not decline to renew my lease. I'm thrilled to know that my rent is not going to go up every year. I'm thrilled to know that the equity I'm paying into my home is going to benefit my family into the future. This is what it means to be a community land trust and why we need more land trust homes like this in the city of Seattle. I have a good job as a nurse at one of our city's hospitals, but I'm one of the only staffers on my unit that can afford to live in this city. Not because we're not paid a decent middle-class wage, but because decent middle-class wages are no longer enough to be middle-class in Seattle anymore. Working-class families like mine are being pushed further and further away, and the free time that we would like to be spending reading to our kids, working in our garden, engaging in other healthful activities, a lot of my colleagues spend in long commutes to and from work. But at the Homestead Community Land Trust development where I live, we have multiple teachers and other educators. We have multiple hospital workers and other types of caregivers. We have single parents. We have people that are going back to school to start a second career. We have people that run their own small businesses. We have young kids. We have elders. We have immigrants. And we have multi-generational Seattleites. We have this incredible community because Homestead Community Land Trust led the way to make it happen, and the city of Seattle supported it. I am thrilled to be here today, knowing that we can create more homes like mine for other workers in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. That was fantastic. I think it just spells for us. You know, I just came right before this. I was with several dozen healthcare workers. And the story is the same. Many of them making decent wages and good family wages, but not enough to live in Seattle. Our teachers, our firefighters, our nurses, our minimum wage workers can't afford to live in Seattle anymore. And when I heard you describe your community at Homestead, that's the city we want. That's the city we deserve. And that's the city, if we create these opportunities, we will create a better, thriving city for the future. So it doesn't just help the individuals, it helps every one of us to have that city that we need to have into the future. And it also has and helps us build that civic heart. I really believe that community you described is a community of the Seattle that I knew, that I grew up with, that provided that civic heart for a city that we cannot afford to lose. So I want to thank you for being here today. I want to thank Homestead and the others for having that commitment, the speaker, Teresa Mosqueda, the city council, all the legislators to say, you know what? We can use all of our public lands to benefit the public. Sometimes that's as parks or community centers, but right now in Seattle, if we have surplus property, the thing we need to be building is opportunity. Opportunity for those people that we need to be able to afford to live in our city. Today's a great day. We announced that. I'm going to be signing some legislation on another opportunity we talk about, but it's also a great day because I'm pleased to announce that I will be sending down a nomination for our Office of Housing. I've said from day one that tackling affordability is really one of the very biggest challenges we have, and one that I think defines the soul of our city. We know we needed a person who could really fill that role, and not just on the great work that the Office of Housing has been doing, but how do we look into the future to make sure that we're creating as many opportunities as we can, like this, across this city, for not just our low-income neighbors who have no other options, but for our middle class that has been pushed out further and further from our city. So I am pleased to announce that Emily Alvarado will be heading the Office of Housing. Many of you know her. She's been the acting director. We had a great search, but Emily is a person who, in her bones, is committed to the mission of the Office of Housing. In her decade of experience, she's worked in the public and nonprofit sectors. She's worked at the ground level, but also at the planning level, to think about how do we move money to implement truly the vision that we need. She's been on the leadership team at the Office of Housing for over 5 years, and she's led that policy and program development. She's passionate about creating an affordable Seattle. She is passionate about how do we create housing models for the future that don't perpetuate the systemic racism of the housing models of the past. How we dismantle that systemic racism and move forward in new visions, new things, so that families can live places like here. Walk out for a minute after you're done here and see what this neighborhood offers for people. Great transit, great cafes, walk to the zoo, walk to Green Lake. We have to unlock every neighborhood in Seattle for everybody in Seattle. And I know that Emily is the person who can find out how to deliver that mission. So now I'm going to have Emily say some words as the official nominee for the Office of Housing.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor Durkan. It is an absolute honor to join your administration in this really pivotal moment for our growing city. As the mayor has said, we need more creativity, more innovation, new strategic partnerships, more resources if we're going to make immediate and meaningful progress on building an affordable city. Housing is a basic human need, we know that, but it's so much more, as you heard in the stories. It is children's launching pad to success. It's our connection to family, to cultural communities, our connection to our jobs, and it's our access to opportunity. And when we build affordable housing, we are building an infrastructure of equity for generations to come in our city. I'm really privileged to move forward and work with our community partners, our talented staff at the Office of Housing, to make Seattle a place where people of all incomes can call home. And I really want to thank Mayor Durkan for this tremendous opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emily. And as everyone knows, she still has to run the gauntlet and get confirmed by the City Council. But I am pleased to say that all the City Council members that I've talked to are very supportive. They know the work she's done. They know what she stands for. My last thing here today is I'm signing legislation that was passed by the City Council that actually has been really working with urgency too. They passed legislation on Tuesday to transfer another piece of surplus property at no cost in the Leshine neighborhood, really close to Judkin Parks, to make sure that we provide even more housing opportunities for low and middle income residents across the city. Homestead Community Land Trust and Edge developers will create 10 additional permanently affordable homes for low and moderate income home buyers at the site. And I just want to emphasize that again, the permanently affordable part. I've had some critics say, well, what does the city get? The city gets a lot. Number one, we get permanently affordable housing in neighborhoods and communities across this city that we know without that would not be affordable for people. Two, we're able to have families in each of those neighborhoods that otherwise would probably be locked out of the Seattle market. And those families contribute. There are nurses, as we've heard before. They are all throughout us, and there are children. Our children are our future. And all of us who are moms, sometimes we read the studies and we say, duh, did you need a study for that? But the studies show clearly that kids that grow up in areas of opportunity do better long term. That is what we have to create all across the city to make more room for the families who are providing the essential services and the diversity and the fabric of our society. So I am really pleased to be able to sign this legislation. And then if there's any questions after I do that, I know there's none. I'll take them. I don't know, Mr. Speaker, should I stop now or?
No.
Oh, okay.
Pass them out.
A small plot of land, a big idea, and more to come. Thank you. Yay! That's really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, I don't know if there's any questions for the speaker, for me, for any of the other speakers who were here today, but we're happy to take if there are.
First thing, Madam Mayor, these are relatively small projects compared to the need. How quickly can the city do more projects?
We're going to be doing it as quickly as we can. You know, while this is a small project, it is a big start. And for every one of those families, it will make a life-changing difference. And we will make sure that we're using every opportunity, small and large. You know, I think this was in many ways record time, if you think about from when legislation was proposed to when it was passed, to when the city council could act, to when the agency City Light could actually transfer the land. We did that in under 9 months. That is remarkable, and we're going to keep pushing. Another person I really have to give my deep respect for is our visionary leader at City Light. Deborah Smith has been a huge partner in thinking about how does City Light, in all of its areas of business, make Seattle more affordable? How do we lower rates for low income? How do we put our property to work for people? How do we make sure we electrify our city for the future, for climate? She couldn't be here today either, but she has been a tremendous partner in this. David.
The original plan was to find a new director for the Office of Housing last July. Is there any reason why it took a few more months than was originally planned?
The search, I'm not sure what the July date you're referring to is.
Steve Walker had said he was down until July when he found it.
Right. The search is not always exactly parallel with what his plans were. So we did a really good search. We got a number of candidates. We're able to interview the candidates and do it. Emily's been serving in that acting position for a week and a half, 2 weeks? A month and a half. It's summer.
Time
Flies when she's making major policy. So no, there's no thing, but we are, I'm very thrilled that she's doing this. I think to a person, the search committee had nothing but the highest things to say about her. I was really very inspired to sit with her for twice to hear about her vision on how we harness what we have to make Seattle a better place for everyone. I would say also we had some other great candidates. There are some really great people thinking about housing, and some of the candidates that applied, while they didn't get this position, I think they've done some great stuff in public service, and I could see them popping up in the future in places in this country, because housing is where it's happening. And if you look across America, I talk to mayors in big cities and small cities. Affordable housing is a problem everywhere. We did not keep up as a nation. And Seattle has a particularly acute need because we grew so quickly. And the people moving to Seattle had such high wage jobs, they could pay more. And the prices skyrocketed to a point where people just can't afford to live anymore. So that's why this is just one of the 3 that we're announcing today, but we're looking for opportunities. I think you will see in our proposal for the money coming out of the Mercer Mega Block that there's other opportunities we have to use public lands and public funds to really increase the ability to have affordable housing in Seattle. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, one follow-up. Sorry about that, Essex.
Yeah, just one quick question. You've been hearing from the folks at the Central Area Senior Center. They're afraid that their property will also be declared better used for housing. Is there anything you can say to reassure them? What about the transfer of that property to them, and anything you can say to reassure them?
I am so glad you asked that question. I've met with them a couple times. I met with different seniors. Even one of the people who I met with yesterday, who was one of the people with lived experience, asked me about the senior center. I will say categorically, as long as I am mayor, that is not going to be transferred for development. We do hope, we have a plan that we're working with them, the owners and the community, to see if we can actually build affordable housing on site and redevelop that senior center so it stays in community in perpetuity, so we have both a community center for seniors on the ground floor and affordable housing for seniors above. Because more and more of those seniors can't live in Seattle either. And so they're commuting into that place that has been their gathering spot, their community for so long. So it is in no danger of being redeveloped, and we're really working with them to see how can we make sure that we build up both the nonprofit running it so that they have the resilience for the long term, and that we can use that property for the next generation of those seniors and seniors into the future, so that we have that facility, which, if you look at the Central District, probably no part of Seattle reflects the changes in Seattle greater than it. When I was growing up here, it was 70% African American. Now it's about 14%. And those seniors are holding on, not to just what community used to be, but it really is their ties. We got to make sure that one of the ways that we have an affordable city going forward is that we keep our senior centers and we make it affordable for people and seniors to live in Seattle. So thank you for asking that question.
Did I hear you correctly? This is the first time the city has developed housing on a surplus utility property?
That's correct, and I'm told it's the first in the state under the new law. Thank you very much.